All right, I'll turn the show over to you.
Thank you. Just going to share my screen and get going, I hope.
I can see it.
Great. So good morning, everyone. My name is John Deedle, and like the others, I've been around IT for a while. This is my 40th year with Connecticut Computer Service. I was one of the original founders of the company. And I'm on the other guys on the call are all account managers. I'm on the service side or the technical side. So they figured I might be the best one to give a few presentations to IT folks. I wasn't exactly sure if I would only have IT folks on, so pardon a few of the early slides with definitions and things if they're all boring to you, but I often get, confused myself in terms of what the heck is that word or this thing going on. So hopefully a few definitions will help us all get on track with cybersecurity. And we want to really just go over a few of the best practices that we've come along. The problem with cybersecurity is it changes every 6 months. And it's kind of, as soon as somebody figures out how to stop a bad guy is learning some other way to attack. And so we're always trying to protect ourselves, and we're always trying to do that as best we can. So I want to take a few moments and talk a little bit about some of the definitions that evolve around cybersecurity to kind of get us all on the same page. We'll talk about impacts to you personally if you are impacted by a cyber attack, and on your business if the business is attacked. And I say if, but it's really when, in my opinion, these days. But we'll talk a little bit about the types of attacks and then drill down into what I feel are the 4 biggest types of attacks we're seeing out there today, which are malware, phishing, social engineering, and ransomware. And then we'll turn it over to some questions and answers. So I hope it'll be helpful to you. We will be doing future, if you will, presentations. So if you have ideas or you want to talk about something or see something in particular, you can kind of throw it in the chat or let me know during the Q&A, and we can kind of arrange at some point to deliver that kind of a presentation for you. So armed with that, let's kind of begin with a few definitions. And the first one is cybersecurity. If you do a lot of research into cybersecurity, you'll find there are many definitions of it, but one of my favorite definitions is really cybersecurity is the practice of protecting computer systems, networks, and information from unauthorized access, theft, and damage. So that to me is the cornerstone of what we do. Over the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, we've spent a lot of time at Connecticut Computer doing research and trying to find best of breed things to deliver to our clients. And our clients are mostly small to medium-sized businesses of all different types, not just healthcare, but we do manufacturing, we do finance, town and government, et cetera. So we've got our kind of fingers in a lot of different areas where we see, these cybersecurity attacks, and have some base to bring them forward. And of course, our customers don't have infinite amount of money, and therefore we try to find a reasonably priced solution. With cybersecurity, it's always risk versus reward. So we always try to find the best things that we could offer at the time, and often we change over time as we find better or more capable products. So a few more quick definitions for you. I consider a scam something like a dishonest or fraudulent kind of scheme that somebody has. A spoof is when you're pretending to be someone or something that you're not. malware is actually software that causes some bad thing or malady to your system. Phishing is when you use email or messaging and try to get somebody to do something that's, you know, in a bad way. Social engineering is when you pretend or you spoof that you're someone else to try to get them to do something for you, like give me your password kind of thing. Ransomware is a type of malware that encrypts or deletes data, usually encryption, because
I don't even know that printers are assigned. Isn't that by department? So if he's assigned to finance, isn't it going to give him the finance printer?
so again, ransomware is malware that encrypts and deletes the data to typically get you to do something, which is often send them money in some form like Bitcoin or something. DOS, I used to joke, but now I'm getting too old. People don't know what DOS was, but DOS is back and it's really mad. This is now deemed a denial of service attack rather than an operating system. And XXS, you'll see, and that stands for cross-site script. XSS, actually, is cross-site scripting, and it's where someone injects code into a trusted application that you may be running or on a website that will then spread its mischief to you. And cryptojacking is actually taking over your computer and generating cyber or cryptocurrency from it without your knowledge, so secretly. So those are some definitions that you'll probably hear throughout the rest of the talk. And a lot of them are on this screen here. These are the types of cyber attacks that you'll see if you go around that wheel, you know, ransomware, man in the middle, zero-day exploits. These are all common terms for the types of cyber attacks that you'll see out there. The big four, as I call them, and those are the four that we're going to continue to talk about, are malware. About 39% of all attacks in 2021 was malware. Phishing, 30%, 36%. Social engineering is 11, and ransomware was 10 back in 2021. However, in 2021, ransomware really just started to get a foothold, and it grew in 2022. The good news is it dropped percentage-wise. Total number of attacks dropped in 2022, a little bit. But when you're talking about 500,000 attacks in the US, that's a lot of attacks. And even though it dropped, it's not going away. Estimates show that in 2031, that a ransomware attack will happen every 2 seconds. So those are the big types of attacks that you should be looking at. And yeah, 39 plus 36 plus 11 plus 10 is 96% of the attacks. So if you develop your theory around those four kinds of attacks, trying to prevent or mitigate those types of attacks, you're literally blocking 96% of all attacks that happen. So again, these are things to look at and think about. You really want to try to cover as much as you can, because there's no, you know, there's nothing that says SQL injection, for instance, can't happen to you. So I want to talk a little bit about the impact of these attacks on, if it happens to you personally, you know, whether that, you know, be at home or on your phone or something, you know, personal, as well as your business, just to give you some ideas to think about. One of the biggest things that happens are identity theft, where they steal information from you and enough to gain or become your identity digitally, and then take out loans or, you know, other things as you, that kind of thing. Financial loss certainly happens with cyber attacks to you personally. Often they get access to your bank accounts or credit card information and then start buying things or withdrawing money, that type of thing. They also do reputation damage where they find information about you that you wouldn't like to see publicly out there, if you will, in whatever form. And they'll engage you and threaten to release the info that they have unless you give them Bitcoins or something in that range. And of course, an attack is really a psychological harm happens as well, where you feel violated and you know, those kinds of feelings about it. And then just loss of digital assets, like they can take over your email account and change the password so you no longer can use it, or lock you out of your social media, or your, and losing your pictures and profiles. Again, that's psychological harm as well as that. So you have to kind of be diligent about protecting your presence both in and out of the office. In terms of business, what we see is that there's an ever increasing threat to business, and these are out of the last from 2021 till now. Just a few of the headlines that happened, and it's growing every single day. Many different attacks on the healthcare community. So it's becoming increasingly important that you put cybersecurity kind of at the forefront of your IT and IT budget these days. Luckily for you folks, healthcare leads the industries in cybersecurity incidents. So it's one of those things you don't really want to win. And it's also projected that healthcare will win in 2023. So to me, it's no longer a matter of if something will happen. It's just a matter of when it will happen. And the best way to mitigate it is to implement protection and education. And education may be something that is relatively inexpensive to implement and very important because, well, as we'll see as we dig in, phishing happens to be one of the major ways that all of these bad things start. And phishing is usually a message or an email and somebody clicking on the link. And unfortunately, that somebody is often what they want is the IT administrator. So us. The impact on your business can be very much like the impact on you: financial fraud, identity theft, reputation damage, disruption in your operation capabilities. Then on top of that, because it's a business, there are legal settlements, fines, penalties, and then to your clientele, loss of trust, reputation, loss of business. And I don't know if you know this, but if you have a breach where you disclose any piece of personal information about a person, you are obligated to pay for 2 years of credit monitoring at no charge to the people that are affected by that breach. So that can be fairly costly, and something that can aid, as you guys are in IT, when you're talking to the upper staff, to talk about the fact that if your database gets exposed, how many clients are, how many patients are exposed, and 2 years of free credit monitoring adds up. So with all of that stuff, let's talk about the four big things, the four big cyber attacks that I feel you'll see today. And the first is malware. Malware has grown because of ransomware quite a bit. Now, ransomware is not the only malware that is out there. You can see again kind of the wheel of different types of malware that you can run into: Trojan horses, adware, keylogging. But to me, the leader of the pack is ransomware. It does kind of the most damage, where some of the other stuff is more, if you will, bothersome. It doesn't take down your whole business. The idea of malware is that they want to steal and take sensitive information from you. Typically, what they want is the administrator's password. So often the software will go out and gain as much as it can about your systems, trying to grab the passwords when people log in. One of those malware things is a keylogger. So the keylogger will send back to the bad guys any keystrokes punched in. So if all you're using is a password on your system, they can get that password and send it back, and then have and more or less become you when they attack your systems. So except for Trojan horse, adware, and ransomware, most malware does things like slows down, crashes, displays error messages, causes kind of, silly things like you can't shut down, it removes the shutdown or the restart from your computer. It won't let you add or remove software to the computer. It changes your browser to go to some new home page, or your toolbar or search bar becomes different. Then more malicious is it goes into your email and sends emails as things that you haven't written. It runs code to simply suck the battery dry by running loops around the CPU, for instance. Those are typical malware kind of events, except for the three at the bottom there. The Trojan horse basically begins, it's a nuisance thing, but it can be pretty devastating in the fact that it keeps popping, generally error messages, not one error message, but literally 20, 30, and just keeps popping these messages so much that your screen fills with error messages windows, and if you close one, 3 more appear, that kind of thing. So you end up having to reboot and try to get rid of that Trojan horse. Adware is much the same, except that it's all advertisements with clickable links that you can go ahead and click on. So sometimes adware just comes up as one window and lets you click a link. And then if you don't click the links, after a while, it acts kind of like the Trojan horse and just fills your screen with ads. One of the most devastating ones is ransomware. And ransomware actually encrypts all files that it can on your PC. And when I mean all files, it's literally all files on a PC. But it also then goes out through the network and encrypts anything that it has the right to encrypt for. So imagine if it gets the administrator's password, it more or less goes out and encrypts every single file on the network. Along with it, it asks for a ransom. We will send you an encryption key that you can use to unlock your keys and get your software back. And usually you have to pay Bitcoin for this. We see a lot of ransomware attacks out there these days. And so it's hard to defend against. Why? Malware typically is somebody clicking something, and usually what I focus on is an administrator clicks a link, and that software then gets downloaded to their system and begins its mission of encryption. And it's hard today to figure out where that attack started from, without forensics, of course, being involved, which happens often after a big attack. But again, those are things that we look at. To mitigate malware, the use of antivirus and anti-malware software is a bare minimum these days. Today, A better solution is to use something called EDR, is what you'll hear. That it stands for Endpoint Detection and Response. And what that means is not only does it detect the bad stuff, it actually goes and does something about it. Literally, it may end up pulling that device off of the network so that it can't spread if it finds that it's in that bad of a shape. As another point, many cyber insurance companies are requiring this as a minimum for today's software. To that end, CT Comp has just recently began moving clients from AV and AM to an EDR kind of solution. And so, you know, that probably is something that if you don't have in your environment now, an EDR solution, you probably should look at, you know, take a look at what that's all about. The other thing is malware can attack systems that are not patched well, patched up to date. So you should make sure that all your systems and software are patched. About the only things that can save you when you have ransomware are backups and offsite backups. And we recommend those to be immutable because, again, what they're looking for is the administrator's password. If they get the administrator's password, they often go and encrypt the backups. If they encrypt the backups and they can get to the offsite backups, they encrypt those. If they're immutable, immutable means you can't change them. So at least at this point, what we've seen is that seems to be the stopping point. In other words, if a company gets ransomware, all their files are encrypted, all their backups are encrypted, unless they're doing immutable backups. And then the offsite backups, if they're immutable, then those are safe and you can actually restore from them. Imagine coming into your office in the morning and everything's encrypted. Well, you don't have to imagine. I'm sure in your environments, you'll be getting the call at 3 in the morning from somebody saying that we can't get into this or that or anything. And so you'll be up early in the morning. And if it gets to your backups, you won't have any way to restore unless you have immutable backups. At that point, you're going to have to destroy your servers and rebuild them with the backups. That takes a long time. It's a lot of process, a lot of money. So we recommend that you look into getting cyber insurance to help in those cases to help pay for those kind of problems. How do bad guys get this? Well, believe it or not, there's a thing on the internet called the dark web, and the dark web is where the bad guys transact things across the internet. And what they do is they buy and sell passwords. So you can buy and sell passwords that have been stolen on the dark web, or personal identifying information, or what we call PI. That's important to defend against because obviously if they get your password, your IT admin password, you may be in trouble that way. So monitoring the dark web to see if somebody actually steals a password or gets identifiable information can be important. The other thing we recommend is monitoring your systems with a security operating system, operation center, I should say. They typically run 24/7, 365, even though you physically don't. You've got to go home and go to bed every once in a while, I hope, or take a vacation. So these types of things will help you monitor your environment and send you alerts at 3 o'clock in the morning if they have to, so that at least you don't have to be there 24/7. Vulnerability scans to just check and see how well you're doing in terms of patching and everything else are important. Another big thing is cybersecurity training and implementing compliance standards, or a compliance standard. You folks all fall under HIPAA. So making sure there's a strong IT policies in the HIPAA policies. While painful, I feel it keeps you on track and keeps you making sure that, you know, when we say that your backups are all good or your systems are all patched, yeah, well, a compliance standard would have someone or yourself checking that every period of time to make sure that the software is patched and make sure those backups are good, those types of things. So all of that is mitigation for malware. It's quite a lot. But as I said, it's all about, to me, layering. You know, if you don't have EDR, for instance, maybe that's this year's kind of budget item. If you don't have offsite backup, or if it's not immutable, you know, maybe you should look, you know, so kind of structure it where every year you're kind of adding a block or two, depending on your budget, until you can get to all of these things. Because the more layers you have, the more protection that you have for something in place. So what do we recommend? Well, we recommend a few things in this world. We have a lot of our clients run in the Microsoft 365 platform. So Microsoft has something called Microsoft Defender, which allows you to have an EDR type of solution. And our monitoring, we use and partner with a company called Rocket Cyber. So again, if these are something that interests you, there's lots of account managers on the call that you can talk to about some of the things that we actually, you know, carry and sell to our clients. Cisco Umbrella is another security package. What I like about Umbrella is it's designed to interfere with the ransomware connection. What ransomware does is it sends a token over to their server to get an encryption key to begin encrypting your data. Well, Cisco Umbrella knows about the bad guy sites, and when they see a packet going out trying to get to one of those sites, it blocks it. So the server on the other end, that the bad guys, never gets the request for a key, and so therefore it never sends one, and then therefore you may have the malware, but it's ineffective. The other solution that we have, irregardless of whether you have 365 or not for EDR, is Bitdefender. And Bitdefender is a AV/AM and can have optionally EDR as well. So you'll see that from our guys. The other things that we talked about, we've created managed services around it, because most of our clients don't have full-time IT staff to do things like, you know, monitoring all of their systems, making sure the backups and offsite backups not only are working, but are successful on a daily basis, planning and doing disaster recovery, patching, updates, yearly updates on their systems. We have a managed service that helps walk you through compliance and cyber insurance management. You can't buy cyber insurance these days by just going and say, can I buy some, and here's my money. They say, no, here, fill out this form. And you have to go and prove that you have, say, EDR, and that you have patching in your system. You know, so they look for reports and things like that, and make sure that you're doing it. And then finally, we have SOC services through Rocket Cyber, which I already mentioned above. So all of these managed services kind of take the burden away from the folks that we work with IT positionally, and move it to CT Comp. We do all that for you. You know, in terms of backup, we back up and check it. You want to restore a file, you put in a ticket, and we restore it for you. So those are the kinds of services that we provide our clients. Again, if you're interested, there's folks on the call, or you can email me after, that type of thing. The next big guy on the list is phishing. when I talk about phishing, what I see in my mind is an email message or a message on my phone with a link, and it gets me to click the button without even thinking about it. And again, click this button or fill out this form, but filling out the form is getting less play these days, but clicking this link or this button to see something. And usually what happens is it does take you to the site that you're looking for, but at the same time, it throws software onto your system that then is the malware that, eventually becomes ransomware. And then it goes to the good site. So there's lots of different ways of phishing out there. They take a good email and make bad of it. They spoof that it's coming from somebody within your domain. They spoof your Wi-Fi so that when you get a message, it looks like it's coming from your Wi-Fi, area. So lots of different things that it does. That they do here, and really it's all to get you to click that button without thinking of it. And what they're looking for are CXO kind of folks or IT administrator type of folks to click the button. Sure, they'll take anybody, but that's, the real prize are the CEOs, the CFOs, and the IT admins, because they have the most damage that they can do when they get that information. When I look at phishing examples, there's not a thing on these examples anymore that make them appear to be bad. In the older days, 6 months ago, a lot of things were misspelled or, just not syntactically correct, or, didn't have good grammar. Those types of things were always highlighted. Today they're getting so good at it that it really looks like, here's your Medicare information, and please, you want a new lower rate, click here. What person that gets this, wouldn't want to click on it. So these things, I've seen myself almost, I probably have clicked a few bad ones, but I've seen myself going, wait a minute, is that real? And then you do your due diligence of checking the links, or going on and getting there your own way, to do it. One of the things that's often talked about is something called stop. If you think it's suspicious and they're telling you to click or offering you something and trying to make you, pushing you to act quickly, you should stop and not do it. To me, the best way to combat phishing is training. I've been doing this for, 40 years, but, probably a good 10 years in terms of phishing stings. And I still, almost click half the time. And, a few times I've even caught myself and started to giggle that I almost clicked the thing and didn't know about it. So training is very important. And being conscious of it all times is kind of important. The other thing is, if your software can flag email from outside of your organization, it should do it. Office 365 does allow that to happen, and we do, sell that to our customers. So that's kind of something that I'd recommend if you can flag mail, so that it gives you an instant, like, wait a minute, this is an email not from somebody inside of my organization, so I should be suspicious of it quite a bit. Having email protection software, something like Exchange Online Protection, or whatever kind of email protection for your server, you should look at getting if you don't have it. Don't click a link, go there yourself. So, if it sounds really good and it's your favorite, store, say LL Bean, and LL Bean sending you a email, I say just go to LL Bean and see if you can find the same stuff there. Don't click the link. unless you're absolutely sure that that's, you know, really LL Bean. Teach your folks never to use a password for anything. You know, don't give it away. Don't let anyone know what it is. Nobody should need to know your password ever. The other thing we see, and many of our clients are now moving to, is multi-factor authentication, or MFA, where you know, have something say on your phone, and you put in a password and it rings your phone, and you have to authenticate it that way. MFA is something you know, which is the password, and something that you have, like a cell phone or a fob, and those two in combination give you a stronger ability to authenticate someone. Password length has gone up over the years. It's now recommended that your passwords be 16 plus characters and complex. There's no way that anyone can start knowing what 16 character complex passwords are. So use a password manager of some kind. Always use a VPN. Don't, you know, log into your network without using a VPN so that your stuff is going across the internet non-encrypted. Use the VPN to encrypt it. Block your pop-ups so you don't end up clicking a link by mistake. And again, SOC and monitoring are important in the world of phishing. So those are some of the things that we recommend. Quick tip to you folks is never ever use a password. Passwords are too hard. It's very hard to come up with a 16 character password. So I tell people, use a passphrase. It makes it very easy and quick to create long passwords. So think of something like the big red ball, right? Even something as cute as that, right? And then stick a number in between each word, and the big red ball becomes the 1 big 2 red 3 ball 4, and it's already 17 characters long. Throw a special character somewhere in there at the beginning or at the end. I use the old school happy face there, and now I have a 19 character password, if you will. So but it's even better not to use words at all. Just use, you know, mumbo jumbo things, and never use the same password at a different site. So every site you go to that needs a password should have a different passphrase at every site. In today's day and age, there is absolutely no way to know, you know, 16 to 20 character passphrases. If you look in the middle of the screen, the $ line there, that's a password that you can use, and that's a pretty good password. There's no way anyone knows it, that kind of stuff. I VPN into my office every morning. I have no idea what my password is that I'm using to VPN. No idea, because I use something called MyGlue, or LastPass, depending on you know what you have. MyGlue happens to come from a company called IT Glue. It's a IT documentation package that allows you to document and actually share documentation and share passwords. We use it for all of our password maintenance. So, you know, if I need a password for a client and they've given it to us to use, I use the IT Glue to look up our customers. As part of that package, we have something called MyGlue. And with MyGlue, I have my own little database, if you will, and I can use that to store my own personal passwords and things. The others that you'll hear about, there are many other password managers. LastPass is another decent password manager that's out there. I've used that at home for many years before I had MyGlue. And it actually passes audits. So if you have, you know, as you do HIPAA constraints, you can implement LastPass as part of your audit, and it will pass the audit. So we recommend it in finance, healthcare, really anywhere. And the other thing that we recommend for our MFA is Cisco's product called Duo. And again, if you have a smartphone or you have the device, if not, they sell tokens and things like that so that you can implement MFA. What's nice about Duo is it offers a push kind of notification. So basically you type in your password, you hit enter, and your phone dings. You click on the thing and say, yep, it's me, and then it sends it back and you're logged in. So you're not entering, you don't have to enter codes and all this stuff. You just kind of click your phone. And obviously training there is don't click your phone if you didn't do something that you'd expect Duo to come back and ask you for. So but that couple of kind of tips for you today. Another big way the bad guys get into your organization is social engineering. And this is where they exploit human vulnerabilities. So they'll, create phishing emails that seem to be from a trustworthy source, or they'll call you on the phone and create a false identity. Hi, I'm John from IT. I'm just not John from your IT, but I didn't say that. And we're doing a check on people's passwords. Do you have a 16-character or more password? Oh, no, you don't. What's that password that you're using? Oh, that's fine. And I'm writing down your password, that kind of thing. So again, things like that are out there. There's baiting where they offer you something like, a USB stick in exchange for your name and address, that kind of fun stuff. And worse are
Hello.
I think we lost John.
I think we lost John.
I think so as well, yeah.
Yeah,
I think we all thought it was each of us.
that's why I was like, hello.
Better check.
actually,
I'm gonna check for malware.
yeah. I'd say it's a bad headphone or something because, no, there goes the
Yeah.
screen, so.
Yeah, we completely lost him.
So while we wait for John, I know a lot of folks get hit with questions from the CEOs and whatnot about ransomware, but also about what they have to do for cyber insurance. How's everybody's cyber insurance been going? Because I know a few of you, we go through it all the time with them. And I know that's got to be tougher and tougher.
My experience is every year there's a new kind of requirement they're looking for. This year it seemed to be the SOC. That was kind of they were all big on that.
Yeah.
But we still got hit with a premium increase anyway.
As a finance person in this group, what's an SOC?
Security Operations Center. So what you'll hear are these big acronyms, SOC or SIM. So a SIM is a security event information manager. And those are the two that they want. That helps the insurance company do the forensics with the SIM. So in other words, it's holding all the data that it collects from the various IT components. And what's funny is that there are some folks that'll just buy that SIM piece without the SOC. The SOC on the Security Operations Center, this is what we use, we teamed up with Rocket Cyber for, is that it ties those two tightly together because it'll help prevent things from happening. As John alluded to, if it had to disassociate a PC from the network, it can do that for you. And that's 24/7. So while you folks are home and getting well rested, something in the middle of the night always seems like that's when these attacks happen. They can take advantage and take care of that for you and alert all of us to say, hey, something's happening.
Thank
So,
you. I didn't
yep.
mean to distract, but yeah,
Oh, no,
I
no.
know there's a big, long questionnaire that goes with our cyber insurance.
It does. And one of the things that John alluded to is our helping with folks with compliance. It's pretty much a compliance manager, and it can help roll in a couple of different things. One, it'll do what's called the NIST standard, the National Institute of Security and Technologies, making sure that you're secure and following that standard is a help. And then also, since everyone's healthcare, you can also layer in HIPAA. So this type of compliance manager makes sure so that when it comes time for that type of cyber insurance, it provides a report for you to show your cyber insurance. Yeah, here we are. Here's what we're up to date with, and we're ready to go. So those are just some of the things. I think a backhoe might have gotten John because he would be on with a backup by now.
Can I ask this group what they're doing for training? Do they have a formalized training program, or is it just, part of their annual in-service? Because we've been getting a lot of pushback from our clinical teams on the time for training.
I'll mention that we do a few things. We do use a software as a service where we do our own phishing campaigns on all of our team members, and that's a good indicator for us of where our vulnerabilities are. We can see who's opened the email, who's clicked, who's entered information, who's plugged in a USB drive, all that stuff. And those folks that I guess fail the campaign, they get invited to every 2 weeks. We have our onboarding experience for new hires, and we roll in an hour presentation by me and somebody else on my team where we talk about everything that John just talked about, and all the tactics and all those things. So we invite them there for a refresher, and then they have mandatory online in-services that they have to complete as well. So it's all about raising the awareness for us. We also have all the automated screensavers that CT Comp help us deploy through GPO, where we're constantly plastering, don't take the bait, look out for scammers. So all of our screensavers are all around cybersecurity. And those are automatically generated. So that's kind of what we do.
We do the same thing. We use the KnowBe4 security awareness platform, which was recommended by Beasley, who's our cyber liability carrier. And all employees get a randomized phishing email every 2 weeks. And then if they fail it, they have to go through a mandatory training. And I kind of started off like tier 1. So if it's your first offense, it's like a little 5-minute video, and depending on how many times someone clicks, it gets longer and longer. And then through that platform, we can also push out in-services. I do at least one annually for all employees, and do that as well.
Yeah, you should really maybe emphasize to the healthcare leadership who's giving you the pushback what the stakes are in terms of sanctions and audits and self-disclosures and paying for things that John mentioned, monitoring and auditing. You lose a laptop, you're in it for at least $1 million. So the stakes are high. That's not encrypted.
Yeah, we've done some other things like, the phrase password. We have that. We have the know before, not the know before. We have the duo, and you know, things like that, but we haven't really pushed the training that hard or the phishing campaign.
Fairly inexpensive, Carol. It'd be something you should consider for sure.
Or
Thank you.
or put it as part of your budget, that type of thing.
I feel like if you use a platform like KnowBe4 or something similar, it becomes second nature. We have the add-on for the fish alert button with that platform. So anyone that gets a phishing email, whether they think it's real or not, they hit that. And I have a lot of real phishing emails that get sent to me through that platform because they know, like, if it's suspicious, click it. If it's clean, I'll send it back. If it's not, I'm able to rip it out of everyone's inboxes. And there's a lot of emails that, you know, we have great systems in place, but they still get through. But then I can click it. I can pull it out of everyone's inboxes. So no one else has an opportunity to even click that email. And sometimes it goes to like 10, 12 people.
Thanks,
Welcome back.
guys.
Welcome.
I
Yeah,
have
thank
to
you.
run to another meeting, but thank you so much.
Andy.
See you, Carol.
Bye.
Bye.
I'll be right there. John. was
Welcome
on-
back, John.
Yeah, thanks.
He's
I
a-
don't know what I did, but I blew myself out of there. So
Yeah. It's a glass lobby. Yeah. All right, I'll be there.
Muted
Dean's
Dean.
multitasking.
All right. John, did you want to finish your presentation? I don't know how much you had left.
it's kind of running late, but we can send it to everyone that
Okay.
left. That way they don't have
Okay.
to listen to
If you
me.
want to forward it to me, I can then send it out
Certainly.
to everybody. Okay.
Sure.
Thank
And
you.
then before we adjourn, then I just wanted to say, if you have any suggestions for topics for Connecticut Computer, please let them know or let me know, and I'll forward it on to them, because this is your council, so we want to meet whatever needs that you have for education.
Yeah, I think likewise too. If you guys want a certain topic covered or spend some time with that, we'd welcome that as well.
Great.
Cool.
All right, so our next meeting that we're planning for is June 22nd at 10 o'clock. I'll create a Outlook meeting invite with the dates for the council meetings. That way you have them as already in your calendar, and I'll also send out reminders prior to each meeting. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Spread
Thanks,
the
everyone.
word. Invite more people.
We'll see you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
care.
you.
Bye now.
Bye.